Hi, my name is Taylor with Doggone Problems, and this is Ryker's Roadmap for Success. Ryker's family is going to be bringing another puppy into the house, and Ryker has somewhat of a rough history with puppies in the past, or smaller dogs. So we went over a few things that his guardians can do to help put him in a position to succeed when the puppy does come home. The first thing we talked about today was exercise. Exercise isn't going to make your problems, or a lack of exercise isn't going to cause your problems, but not having enough of it can make your or having enough of it can help fix your problems. We talked about walking, making sure he's sniffing when he's on walks. That's going to help him burn some energy. We talked about food dispensing toys. You have a couple. I would look at something like a snuffle mat for feeding, the Omega Paw food dispensing ball. PetSafe has a plethora of different food dispensing toy options. I have a few that I rotate through for my dog so that he isn't playing or eating out of the same toys. They're very intelligent. They'll figure out how to manipulate a toy in a way to pour all of the food out at once. So I try and vary his food toys up every day so that he's not always getting the same toy. He gets very good at them very fast. If you figured out that your dog's mastered one of them, I put it away for a few weeks, then he gets to try again. Doggy Stairmaster. So the stairs that go downstairs that have carpet on them. The first time you do this, do it on an empty stomach. Stand at the top of the stairs. Come up with two fun names, something that means to go down and go up. I told you Cayman in Canada. But when he gets to the bottom of the stairs and he licks up that first piece of food, say the name of the bottom of the stairs, call him back up. Say the name of the top of the stairs when you give him another piece. You want to do this the first time and max him out. Give him a gauge. What does it take to wear him out 100% of the way? Then you know that if you exercise him 3 times a day and you do 15 repetitions on the stairs each time, that puts him in a position to succeed. What we're looking for here are small changes you can make to your everyday life to help him. Remember that, like I said in the session, their nose controls somewhere around 60% of their brain. So you want to use that to your advantage. If you can burn his energy by him using his nose, he's very food motivated. He likes his kibble. So use that to your advantage. On average, 60 minutes of exercise. Rule of thumb, if he's doing something naughty, give him 5 minutes on the stairs. If he's doing something that is a nuisance to you, 5 minutes on the stairs. That's just going to help you put him in a position to succeed. Every 2 to 4 hours is ideal. More frequent, shorter exercise periods are going to be more beneficial for him than one long exercise period. Rules. Second thing. He already has some. You already have a great foundation in place with the previous person that you worked with. We're just going to make a few modifications or additional rules. The first one we talked about, or some of the ones that we talked about, doorways. So your main exterior doors. If he's going to go outside with you, he has to sit before the door will open. Tell him to sit 1 time. If he doesn't sit, you have to make yourself look occupied, wait for 1 minute, get up, tell him to sit again. If he doesn't sit that time, within 3 seconds, sit down. Now you're going to wait for 2 minutes. Then you'll give the sit command again. Remember, say the command word once. If he doesn't follow through within 3 seconds, then the process doesn't keep moving. What we're looking for here is to help him practice being calm through the processes that make him a little bit excited. We talked about doorways, potentially practicing leashing up in a calm way. Making sure that everyone is on the same page when it comes to feeding him so that he's following the same process every single time. It sounds like it's mostly similar, but let's make sure that it's almost exactly the same every single time. We talked about the furniture. So the furniture, we're gonna take away access to the furniture for about 3 months or as long as your problems are going on. We talked about X-mats. The X-mats are gonna be placeholders for the ottoman and the couch, the places that he likes to jump up and lay down. Eventually he's gonna stop trying to get up there. After about that 3-month window, you can start weaning out the X-mats. So that if there's 4 on the ottoman, then you move it down to 3. After a few weeks, then it's 2, and then it's 1. We're just creating new behavior patterns. It's going to take him a while to fall into these habits. So don't think he's being naughty by trying to figure out if he can get up on the couch. He's just making sure that the rule applies, just like that rug we talked about. When you do take away the furniture after your trip, make sure that he has a dog bed to go to. I think you already moved it, so you don't really have to worry about that. Snoring. Otherwise, we talked about boundaries. So making sure that he's not standing underneath your feet while you're cooking. We talked about where you'll kind of set that up in your kitchen so that there's that L-shaped area he's not allowed to go in. The first time you're practicing these, practice with this kibble. So throw the kibble behind you to entice him to want to come in. Remember, body language. I've already put in here that I'm going to link that in the write-up. So you're going to want to practice that at first with his food and then work up to actually prepping your food and practicing having your anybody else that lives with you help you practice this exercise to be beneficial while you are cooking. It's going to be hard to do it at first if you're trying to do it while you're cooking. So you want to set him up to succeed so that he's not being allowed to continually break the boundary. The next thing we talked about is petting with a purpose. So when he comes up and nudges you, tell him to sit. Just tell him to sit one time. If he sits, he gets the attention he's seeking. When you start petting him underneath the chin, if all things are equal, it's going to be better. Confident dog will hold their head parallel to or elevated from the ground. A not so confident dog will hold their head a little bit lower. Petting underneath the chin will promote that head up body mechanic. You can pet wherever, but if you start underneath the chin, it's going to help promote that. If he doesn't sit, he doesn't get any attention. Playing hard to get works great for dating, and it works great for dogs. Your attention will become very precious, and when it does, he will be quick to sit down when you ask him to. Remember, the 3-second window is important. So whether you give him the word or you use the hand gesture, if he doesn't sit within that 3-second window, he does not get the attention that he's seeking. Let's see. The next thing we talked about was passive training. So you kind of discussed passive training. Something you've already passive trained him to do is to walk underneath your legs when you give him pets. So mark that with a word, call it love, or whatever works best for you guys. We talked about giving him a food word. So right now he hears okay as his permission word to eat. What we would do is we would say okay. Then when he takes his first bite of food for the next 3 or 4 months, he should hear the word chow. When puppy comes home, I would also give puppy a word that means to eat. So when the puppy takes their first bite of food for the first 3 to 4 months of its life, or life with you at home, you're going to give it another word. So when Ryker takes his first bite of food, he hears chow, she'll hear maybe pizza. And then eventually they'll each have their own command word to eat. David feeds his dogs in the order of their rank based on behavior for the day. So he has 3, they all sit down in one spot. He gives each of them permission to eat once at a time. So the dog who's best behaved that day eats first, so on and so forth down the line. They each have their own command word. Through passive training, you can give them their own command word for that. The more structure when puppy gets here, the better. It'll be very beneficial. The command, you like that he nudges your leg. So when he does that, you can mark it with a word. So then you can tell him to do that eventually. Very small things you can do, but the more commands your dog knows, the more confident they are. The more confident they are, the more secure they are, and the less they feel like they need to lash out when they're uncomfortable. I talked about the boundaries. I'm going to link that video for you so that if you do run into issues with it, you'll have a place to go back and look for it. We talked about potentially building up to having another dog come over before puppy does move in so that he has a positive experience with another dog being around. Like you said, all of his experiences up until this point with another dog in your home have been somewhat negative. So we talked about potentially having my dog Luca come. I would be able to do that on the weekends. What we would do there is we would start by walking them together. We would build up to them even being in your yard together before we would even think about having them come in. So it might be 2 weekends that we have to work on this, but it would be a gradual process to help him feel comfortable with another dog coming into his home. Yeah, and I will, if we do decide to go that route, we'll walk through it at that point. I'm not going to summarize it here. This is just for you to have a reminder of what we talked about today. Any other things you want me to cover?
No.
I'm going to link the conditioned emotional response video for you. So what we talked about with the puppy blanket. So talk to the breeder, which I think we've already discussed thoroughly, but just as a reminder, talk to the breeder, see if you can drop off a blanket, go back and pick it up a few days later. I'm going to link a video that's going to walk you through how to do the CER, but then we can already start working on creating a positive association to puppies' smell and pheromones. If you run into any issues, you have my personal phone number, save that, and so that you can reach out to me again in the future. Don't hesitate to reach out. The only reason we ever get mad at anybody is for having problems and not reaching out for us to help them work through the problems. Don't wait. The sooner you reach out, the sooner I can give you an answer on how to move forward. If you do reach out, send a picture of him too. I work with a lot of dogs. It's very easy to forget the people and dogs that I've worked with throughout the week. I think that's everything. So remember, everything you do trains your dog, only sometimes you mean it.